Step into the darkness where reality blurs and nightmares come alive. The decision to leave the city behind and move to a remote cabin in the woods was supposed to be the fresh start my family needed. My wife, Emily, and our 2 children, Jake and Lily, were excited at the prospect of escaping the hustle and bustle of urban life and immersing ourselves in the tranquility of nature. Little did we know, the forest surrounding our new home held ancient, malevolent spirits that were intent on driving us out. As we approached the cabin, nestled deep within the woods, a sense of serenity washed over me. The towering trees whispered secrets in the wind, and the sunlight filtered through the canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. It was as if the very essence of the woods welcomed us with open arms. But as the days turned into weeks, strange occurrences began to unsettle our idyllic existence. Objects would go missing, only to reappear in the most unlikely of places. Whispers echoed through the woods at night, their words unintelligible but their intent unmistakable. And the air seemed to hum with an otherworldly energy, as if the forest itself was alive with unseen forces. At first, we brushed off these incidents as the quirks of country living, but as they grew more frequent and more sinister, we realized that something was terribly wrong. Emily and I exchanged worried glances, our concern mirrored in the eyes of our children, who seemed to sense the growing tension in the air. One night, as we sat around the crackling fire in the cabin's cozy living room, the whispers grew louder, more insistent. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes, and a chill settled over the room like a shroud. That's when we heard it, the sound of footsteps outside, slow and deliberate, as if whatever was out there was toying with us. Emily clutched my arm, her knuckles white with fear, as we listened to the steady rhythm of the footsteps drawing closer and closer to the cabin. With a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach, I rose from my chair and crossed to the window, peering out into the darkness beyond. What I saw chilled me to the bone, a figure standing just beyond the glow of the firelight, its eyes gleaming with a malevolent light. I tried to convince myself that it was just a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination brought on by the oppressive atmosphere of the woods. But deep down, I knew the truth. There was something out there, something ancient and malevolent, that wanted us gone. With trembling hands, I reached for the phone, intending to call for help, but the line was dead. Panic surged through me as I realized that we were completely cut off from the outside world, at the mercy of whatever lurked in the darkness outside. As the night wore on, the whispers grew louder, more frantic, until it felt like they were inside my head, driving me to the brink of madness. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting and contorting into grotesque shapes, and I could hear the sound of scratching at the windows, as if something was trying to claw its way inside. With a sense of dread gnawing at my insides, I knew that we had to leave, to escape the clutches of whatever dark force held sway over the forest. But as I turned to gather my family and make a run for it, I realized that it was already too late. The cabin shook with a deafening roar as the very ground beneath us seemed to tremble with rage. Emily screamed, her voice lost in a cacophony of sound, as the walls of the cabin began to splinter and crack, as if they were being torn apart by some unseen force. With one final, desperate effort, I reached for Emily and the children, pulling them close as the world around us collapsed into chaos. And as the darkness swallowed us whole, I knew that we were doomed, that the whispers of the woods had finally claimed us for their own. We awoke in a place of darkness, surrounded by towering trees that seemed to stretch endlessly into the sky. The air was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the ground beneath our feet felt cold and unyielding. With a sinking feeling in my stomach, I realized that we were no longer in the cabin, or even in the woods that surrounded it. We had been transported to some other realm, a place of nightmares and shadows where the rules of reality no longer applied. I turned to Emily and the children, their faces pale and drawn with fear, and knew that we had to find a way out of this twisted nightmare. But as we ventured deeper into the darkness, we soon realized that we were not alone. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, their eyes gleaming with a hungry light as they watched our every move. We tried to avoid them, to slip past unnoticed, but it was no use. They seemed to sense our presence, to track us through the darkness with an uncanny precision that sent shivers down my spine. As we pressed on, the whispers grew louder, more insistent, until it felt like they were inside my head, driving me to the brink of madness. I could hear voices calling out to me from the darkness, their words twisted and distorted into a chorus of despair. With each passing moment, the air grew colder, heavier, as if some unseen force was trying to crush us beneath its weight. I felt a sense of hopelessness creeping in, threatening to swallow me whole, but I knew that I had to keep going, for Emily, for Jake and Lily, for all of us. And then, just when it felt like we couldn't go on any longer, we stumbled upon a glimmer of light, a faint, flickering glow in the distance that seemed to beckon us closer. With renewed determination, we pressed on, following the light through the darkness with a single-minded purpose. As we drew closer, the light grew brighter, more intense, until it was almost blinding in its brilliance. And then, with a sudden burst of clarity, we realized what it was, the way out, the path back to the world we knew. With a sense of relief washing over me, I reached out and took Emily's hand, pulling her and the children close as we stepped into the light. And as the darkness faded away behind us, replaced by the warmth of the sun on our faces and the sound of birdsong in the air, I knew that we had escaped the clutches of the whispers of the woods, for now. But as we made our way back to the cabin, a sense of unease lingered in the back of my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that the darkness was still out there, lurking just beyond the edge of our vision, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. And as I looked back at the cabin, standing silent and empty amidst the trees, I knew that we would never truly be freed from its malevolent influence. For in the heart of the woods, where the shadows loom large and the whispers never cease, evil lurks in the darkness, biding its time until it can claim us once again.